Hi everyone, I'm Sue. Welcome to Blue Heron Hill. Down in my seed starting area, and I wanted to introduce you to a new method of starting your seeds. Now, the method I use is tried and true, the actual method of, when I plant the seeds, how I plant the seeds and all of that. But this is in lieu of using all of these plastic pots and stuff. I have the regular 6-cell variety, all sorts of sizes. I have some 2-inch pots. I have some 4-inch pots. I have 4-inch pots over here that are at a deeper depth. I use a lot of this stuff, but over time they degrade. And you must admit that plastic is something that is not very sustainable in our environment. It does not break down, and it's not good for our environment. Well, what I've come across in the last, 10 years since I've been gardening, but I've never ever tried it, was what is called a soil block. And I bought this last year for the first time and did a number of my seeds this way. And I thought it was very, very successful. Now, a lot of my seeds I have started using, I have a number of these. These are silicone. These will last forever. And unlike your plastic, which tends to break down over time and splits and it's not usable anymore, these will last a long time. These are rather expensive. Now, I'm not saying that this is not expensive, but this is sustainable. It will last a lifetime as long as you take care of it, and it makes a soil block, so you're not using any plastic cells anymore. So one of the advantages then would be that you're not using plastic anymore when you start your seedlings. And you can, get rid of this, or I keep using it. I'm going to be using it until it falls apart and I can't use it anymore. And some of it's recyclable, so you would hope that when you put it in your recycling bin that they do the right thing with it. So when you start your seedlings in these soil blocks, the roots will not grow out of the soil block. They reach the edge of the soil block and they detect light. Roots will not grow in the light. So they will stop and redirect themselves in towards your soil mass. When you have plastic, like here you see the roots of my spinach plant have started to come out the base of this plastic pot. Also, a benefit for those roots is the oxygen through the sides of those soil blocks. Here, there's no oxygen going in through the soil of these blocks of soil in these cells. So that's a benefit to having a soil block rather than a plastic cell to start your seed in. There's less of a chance when you have root-bound plants of really disrupting them when you have them in these. By pushing these out, you're disturbing that root structure and breaking some of those roots. So I like that. So, and then also taking them out to the garden and planting them, there's less transplant shock too. You can just plop them right into the soil. That's not to say that when I plant my seedlings in these little blocks that they won't need to be up-potted. If I am not right at the correct time to take them outside, they can be up-potted. But it's so much easier just to take that little block and put it in a larger pot and fill in with soil around it. So there's another benefit to it. So things that we'll need to get started, of course, is a seed starter mix again. And again, I wouldn't use potting soil. Still, for a little tiny seed, that potting soil is too chunky. It has too much big stuff in it. And it just gets in the way of the root expansion of that little seedling. So go with your seed starting mix, whether you make it yourself, and I do have a video, I'll put it up here, on how I make a seed starting mix. So another thing you're going to need are, unfortunately, it's plastic. If anybody comes across anything that's not plastic, please let me know, like this. But what you're going to need is one of these 1020 trays. Now this one is one without holes in it, and then we have one with holes. There's all sorts of these. Some, you don't want giant holes. These I actually picked up at the nursery. You know, when you buy some plants up there and they, you know, they give you these so you can carry them around. That was easy. And these seem, they're much sturdier and they seem to last longer. But this is a drip tray, and then you need a non-drip tray. And then this is going to go right in here. Because when you water these, it's most important to bottom water. If you're going to top water your seedlings that are in a soil block, your block will then maybe have a tendency to disintegrate or just kind of fall apart. And then, of course, you need water to go in with your seed starter because we need to hydrate it. And, of course, you do need this. Okay, so we've hydrated our seed starting mix. And now we are going to start filling our little individual cells. This is a four cell soil blocker. They come in some different sizes. There's some that are like a quarter of a size here, so you'd get 16 out of this. I just go with this size, and I think there's even a larger size. So you're going to start putting it in here and mashing it down so the soil starts, look at those chunks, starts filling these holes. And you can even, you may have to push a little bit in here. You want it fairly firm. And then I'll scrape this off because you want this flat here. Let's see. Okay. So here's your tray right here. And we're going to push this, and then you just depress this plunger, and you're pulling this up as you depress it. And there you have your soil blocks. Let me do another one. I don't know if that showed up in the... Okay. It's in there pretty good. Hold down firmly on this handle and pull up on this bar. There we are. Very good. Like that. You see that there? Now, if you don't like the consistency of your soil block here, if it's too wet or runny, just take this thing out. Take them back. And try again. I like that one, but just for the camera's sake. Don't those look beautiful? I found that you can fit 4 across in a 10-20 tray, And then every 4th row, you can fit one along this side. So now we have, it's 5, and I think you can get another 5 here. So it's 10. So it's 50 in a flat. Now in these soil blocks, you can see it makes a little indentation right here, right in there in the center of each one. And that's where you place your seed. And there's no need even to cover the seeds, because the seed is going to receive moisture from all sides of it, and it will germinate that way. So I have a whole tray here to start. These are going to be what I start my tomatoes in, because it's time to start my tomatoes. So let me get this done and I'll be back for a wrap up. There we go. Now I have 2 squares left over right here in the corner. So I just made a 4 block and pulled it apart. You see how nicely they're actual blocks of soil that will stay separate from each other. And I can just so there I have 50 cells ready to go and to plant tomatoes in. The soil is very wet, and you need to keep them wet. Here we pull that out by bottom watering. So you're going to need to fill this. When they start to dry out, you see a little bit of the dryness on the top. Then you're going to have to fill your bottom tray with water, maybe about, 3/4 of an inch or an inch. And then let that set for about, I usually let it set for about 30 minutes. It should wet down the surface within 30 minutes. And you don't really want these sitting in water for a very long time. The blocks will be sufficiently moistened, and they should take all the needs of the little seedlings will be met. Once I plant my seeds, and there should be a seed, I hope you can see that, a seed in each little depression here. Let me show you. Here you can see in here, there are these little bumps here that will make that depression, and that in that depression is where you're going to plant your seeds. So there's a little bit of a learning curve to all of this. Just, getting it right, getting the consistency, the moisture level in your seed starter correct. But if this doesn't work out, if you don't like the looks of any of this, plop it right back in, add a little bit more seed starter if you think it was too wet, or add a little bit more water. And so there's really no loss here except a little bit of your time. I don't know what the cost, I don't remember what I paid for this, but if you have a gardening community, a neighbor, a couple neighbors that all like to start their seeds, go in together and buy one of these things if you want to, and then share it. You just need it long enough to make a few soil blocks for all the seedlings that you want to start on a particular day. And so rotate it out. So I hope you found this useful. It is another tool for us as gardeners to use. It's going to be as handy as my gardening trowel or even my pruners, and it's well worth the investment. So if you have the opportunity to use it, to try it out, go for it. It works well. You think that it might not work well because these blocks are just sitting there and why don't they fall apart? They don't. The roots of that little seedling is going to inundate that whole block, and it's not going to go into its neighbor's block. I thought for sure, oh yeah, it's going to go into a neighbor's block, and it's going to be one giant mass of roots that are all tangled in and out. it doesn't happen that way. So anyway, a new tool. So until the next time that we can go digging in the dirt, and I have been digging in the dirt. Happy gardening. Bye.